So when I was approached to do Sid the Sloth, I didn't know what to do with it because, sloths don't move. They make no sounds and they're really slow. And Sid had a lot of dialogue, so I didn't know what how I was gonna do it. And plus, I'm a much more, how do I put it nicely about myself, kind of hyper, perhaps person. So I didn't know how I was gonna accomplish this, and I wanted to really create a character voice that would go with the images that Chris had developed with his Blue Sky crew. And they gave me sort of a sculpted piece and a couple of diagrams, and I had sort of an idea. And so I was in Australia doing Moulin Rouge, and on my mini disc, I did 30 voices of possible Sid choices. I did the low voices, the high voices, the foreign comical voices. I did Looney Tune voices. Now, what you're about to hear are a couple of samples. Now, I did these really raw in my room. I didn't really have a lot to say. I was just experimenting for Chris and myself. So you're privy to stuff that I would never let anybody else hear. So this is me just goofing by myself, trying to find the voice.
Look, some promises are no big deal, believe me. I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while. I promised my first girlfriend we'd made for life. I promised myself that I'd lose 20 pounds by New Year's. But a deathbed promise, man, oh man.
Look, some promises are no big deal. Believe me, I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while. I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life. I promised myself I'd lose 20 pounds by New Year's. But a deathbed promise, oh man. Some promises are no big deal. Believe me, I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while. I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life. I promised myself I'd lose 20 pounds by New Year's. But a deathbed promise? A deathbed promise? Man! Now check it out. Now look, some promises are no big deal, right? Believe me, I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while. I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life. I promised myself I'd lose 20 pounds by New Year's. But a deathbed promise? Oh man!
Look, some promises are no big deal.
Believe me, I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while.
Well, I promised my first girlfriend we'd mate for life.
I promised myself that I would lose 20 pounds by New Year's.
But a deathbed promise, you gotta take a little serious, okay?
Look, some promises are no big deal. Believe me, I know. I promised my parents I would try working once in a while. I promised my first girlfriend that we would mate for life. I promised myself I'd lose 20 pounds by New Year's. But a deathbed promise, oh man.
And none of them seemed to please Chris or me. So I tell him, look, why don't you send me some documentary footage of sloths, right? So I watched some Discovery Channel footage of sloths, and trust me, it is not the most exciting thing to watch. I thought my TV was broken because they don't move at all. But before I turned it off, a couple hours later, it said that they stored food in their mouths. And when I started going around, walking around, pretending to have food in my mouth, I was going, food in my mouth, food in their mouths. And that's where the lateral lisp was born. And that's where the character started to evolve. And this is Sid the voice.